Hello, Dave here with emergencyprepguy.com. I appreciate you stopping by. Since I did my last Mittleider garden video, I've had several people contact me and tell me they're anxiously awaiting a follow-up video on that. So it has been by far the most productive garden I've ever done by far, as far as amount of actual food and produce I've gotten from it. I'll put an image up real quick right here. This is just something I took off of the kitchen counter yesterday, or actually my wife did. Anyway, we've been getting harvests like that just every few days, especially with the tomatoes. Just like every couple of days, my wife has to go out there and get a bunch of tomatoes. And I will say, she has a very delicious homemade tomato soup that she makes. I'm not one that would eat tomato soup unless I have something like grilled cheese sandwiches to dip it in. I'm not traditionally a tomato soup fan, but she makes a homemade tomato soup that is just amazing. It's actually her mother's recipe. But so she's been taking all those tomatoes, and she has a process where she lays them all out on a cookie tray, gets the green tops off, lays them out on a cookie tray, freezes them. Then I'm not sure what she does with it after that, but she has a whole system where she's got them all ready for the next time she wants to make tomato soup. So anyway, it's been really fun. So you're gonna have to pardon me if you don't mind. Seems like every time I want to go to do a garden video, I should have sprayed the weeds before. Again, if you want a good organic way to kill your weeds that kills them instantly, I'll put a link to that below this video. It's really cheap and just knocks them out literally within a couple hours. I haven't done that yet and so you'll see some weeds out there. It's about time to do it again. But anyway, let's go look at the garden, and I'll kind of talk as we go through about how everything's done and how the harvest went. Okay, let's start in the greenhouse here. The beets are pretty much done. I need to harvest them. Not probably, this Saturday I'm going to start on the potatoes. I'll show you them in a minute. And I hope to get through the potatoes and the onions and the beets this Saturday. So you can see we've gotten some cold nights. A couple of these tomato plants, their leaves have gotten a little bit curled. We've also had some really windy days, and it's kind of rattled this greenhouse. And they've gotten a fair amount of wind. The winds, some of them, one of the days came this way, and it rattled them pretty good in here. So I know wind and different things can cause the tomatoes leaves to curl. But my goodness, we've gotten a ton of tomatoes. The other thing that we've just gotten a massive amount of is this looks like a bush here, but this is looks I've got a tomato plant growing up through there that I need to trim out of there. Where did that come from? Huh. It's a stray branch I missed from this tomato plant. I'll have to clean that out of there. Hadn't noticed that. But anyway, this is a cucumber plant, and we've just you saw in the picture a bunch of cucumbers. We've gotten just tons of cucumbers from this. And then these are squash. You can see I've got some butternut squash here that are getting ready to get ready. We've had a pretty good harvest there, and we got a lot more coming. Of the squash. We've gotten, you can see down there's a couple strawberries look like about ready to be picked. This is the first year I put in the strawberries, and the lady at the nursery told me, yeah, you won't get any strawberries this year. Man, we've had a ton of strawberries. Not as much as I'm sure we'll have in a normal year, but we've had a lot. So that's how things are going in the greenhouse. I'm going to get this thinned down, when I get rid of the beets. And there you can see some peppers there that looks like we need to harvest. So I'm going to get probably going to remove the peppers and the beets, and the squashes once they're done bearing fruit for the year. And I'm gonna try to keep the tomatoes as long as I can. After I have to, we're just about on our freeze date now. Normally around the 15th to the 18th, I can't remember which day, somewhere in there is the normal first day of frost here in eastern Idaho where I live. And so once it starts freezing at night, I'll have to close that down. And then I got to get a humidifier or dehumidifier in here. I have it already, I just have to set it up. And so I'm going to try to keep the tomatoes as long as they'll last into the winter and see how that goes. And then I'm going to plant a bunch of like spinach and things that don't bear fruit is what you want to grow in a greenhouse during the winter, or at least they do the best. Oh, I do want to show you one thing. I got a late start on the watermelon because my wife picked the first batch of them on accident, thought they were weeds. So I got too late of a start. But I do have a little baby watermelon growing there and another one there, and I have a few outside. I don't think I'm gonna, I don't know, it might get big enough where we can get a bite or two of food out of it before. But things bearing fruit don't do that good during the cold weather, even in a greenhouse. Probably fall it'll do fine. So I might ought to just leave it and see what I get out of it. I probably will, actually, now that I think about it. But anyway, next year on the watermelon, I'm gonna start them with as seedlings in the greenhouse, and so I can they're older by the time and transplant them into the garden when it's time. So as you can see, it's still early in the morning, kind of cool out, but the bees would normally be buzzing. Looks like we got one bee there, but they've pretty much cleaned this all of these honey supers. They've cleaned all of the honey that they want out of them. It was just like if you watched one of my previous videos for like a week, it was just a constant swarm of bees around this as they were cleaning those up. So I got to put those away because they're all clean and ready to be used for next year. So here's the we've got a little bit of I don't think it's actually frozen, but it's got pretty cold. But anyway, so we're looking around here. These here are beans, long beans. You can see there's some there we need to pick. We've gotten two really good harvests out of those that we've done so far. Looks like it's time for me to tie this plant up a little bit. I'll show you some of the fruit that are starting to come here. Again, they got a late start. So I'm gonna do all of these by seedlings in the greenhouse next spring early, so that they're pretty good sized. When it's time to plant the garden, I can transplant them out as plants already, so they get a head start. I don't know if you can see over there. There's another big cucumber. It's getting close to ready to harvest. It's another cucumber plant. My cucumbers have been hard. They've produced a lot, but growing vertically, I need to do some more research before next year. I've just had a really hard time not letting it. They just grow. They grow up the trellis there that I have, the twine, but they're just kind of jumbled messes. Whereas the squashes will just kind of grow up. They seem to be easier for me to do single vines that grow up. So anyway, I'm new to the whole trellising thing. You can see there's some more of that butternut squash that's getting ready to get harvested. I don't know if you can see in here, there's a few more up in there that are getting ready. And over here we got a bunch more tomatoes. So again, we've just been harvesting to beat the band. The leaves are a little curled on these ones too. We get a lot of wind here. I know that really affects it, the curling of the leaves. But man, we've had a ton of tomatoes, as I talked about already. Now over here we have my 2 rows of corn that are like 9.5, 10 feet tall, something like that. And we got 2 big wheelbarrows full of corn. My wife, you know, took all the kernels off of all the cobs. I think we had, you know, a few for corn on the cob for dinner. But anyway, she cut all the corn off of the cobs, and we vacuum sealed it, and I'm gonna be running that through the freeze dryer. My freeze dryer is broke at the moment, so it's kind of bad timing. So hopefully I'll get that running pretty soon. So this is the corn that was, you know, 2 big wheelbarrows full of corn out of 2 rows. I want to take you over here really quick, show you the other side of this row before we move on. Peas are starting to come back, even though I wasn't planning on them coming back. Again, more beans. Again, more watermelon and cucumbers. Or actually, those ones are not watermelon. Those ones are cantaloupe. And I think I got one. Yeah, see, here's one that's down here at the bottom that are. So those other ones on the other side are probably cantaloupe too. I called that wrong. But anyway, that one's getting close to being ready to harvest there. I think and here's a cucumber. These vining plants jump over onto their neighbors. It's but anyway, so you can see again, there's more butternut squash. If you see back in there, we've got a lot of butternut squash. Some of it's ready to pick, it looks like. So anyway, we get over here. We've also had just a ton of peppers. This plant here on the end is a jalapeno pepper plant. We also have one of the pepper plants in the greenhouse that's jalapeno. My wife has to wear gloves when she cuts those up. First time she didn't wear gloves, and her hands burned for like 6 hours. But anyway, they're I think next year I'll trellis them a little bit or something, because they're starting to get, as you can see, as they get a bunch of fruit. I'm getting, oh, I just broke one off, darn it, didn't mean to do that. But I'm getting a bunch of fruit. They're starting to fall over a little bit. Most of the season they stayed upright, but I'm just noticing that as it's getting late in the fall, plants are starting to get bigger and fall over. Now here's the potatoes. We cut all the tops off of the potato plants about almost a week ago, and laid them on top of the row to let the potatoes cure. So it's like the weeds are starting to overgrow it. Anyway, so that it's time for potato harvest there. Beets are doing really, really good. I already told you about them. They're going to be hopefully harvested. Hopefully I'll get to them. They're my last priority as far as what I want to get done Saturday. I want to get all the potatoes out and all of the onions. I've got half of these onions are red onions, and half of them are white onions. So anyway, then the raspberries, as you can see, we've just had tons and tons of raspberries grow off of that. I'm going to set up a trellis for them next year so that they're a little more orderly. They were like 6 inches tall this spring, so I didn't expect them. And that was their second season, because I just transplanted them kind of late the season before. And so anyway, I didn't know if they would get how well they would do, and I should have had a trellis for them. But anyway, that'll be next year. I don't know if you guys can see all of the plums. These plums, let's see if they're getting close to being ripe. They're not, oh yeah, they might be. Let me pick one and see. Or two, I guess. Nope, they're a little sour. So they're not quite ripe. They're getting pretty close. But these are a green variety of plum. I was surprised that they were green. They never turn purple. But they're super, super sweet and super good eating. So if you can see, there's this plum tree really produces a lot of fruit. So we'll have a lot of plums. Okay, well, I hope that was interesting. I appreciate you guys watching the video all the way to the end. Please don't forget to share this on your social media. That helps us grow the channel. And if liking the video, that really helps us get the word out, because it helps with the Google algorithm. And if you like this kind of content, we'd love to have you subscribe. So thanks so much, and we'll talk to you in the next video.